Wow, what a great performance, Carol. How do you do it?
Oh, I love it.
After all these years, you still sound awesome.
Thank you.
So you actually got your start in the music industry with a girl group.
Yes.
And tell us about that.
It was called the Geminis, and we really got our start from Eddie O.J., who owned the O.J.'s at the time.
Oh,
and he was looking for a girls group, so we got together, and we were on RCA Records and cut a couple of records, and we did very well.
And after that, I know that you moved on to being a solo performer.
Yes.
And specifically, you were on the nightclub circuit. So
Yes.
what was that transition like for you?
Oh, the nightclub circuit was great because it taught you how to relate to an audience. Also, it was 6 nights a week.
Wow.
So it was actually good training for your voice, you know, because you were constantly singing like 4 or 5 sets a night. And you had to learn other people's songs, so you got used to, you know, learning something in the key that they did it in. It wasn't even a thing about whether it was your key or not. It was their key. And it was really great. I say that's my great teaching experience.
So from doing that, you ended up getting a record deal. And there's, I know, an interesting story behind how that happened. Could you tell the audience a little about that song and everything that made that happen?
Well, at the time, my husband was working for Wilson Pickett at the time. He was with Wilson Pickett's musical director. And Wilson Pickett's road manager heard about Salsoul Records looking for a girl singer. They were looking for an artist. So everybody that auditioned had to go in and audition for a song called Rattlesnake. And of course, when I was there and I saw the sheet music and everything, I said, I don't know about this song.
What a title, right?
Right, and I said, I don't know about this song, but my husband, he said, he sang it to me because he could sight read, and I ended up auditioning and getting it.
So you got signed to Salsoul Records, the legendary disco label,
right,
through that. And we have here that album itself. And this is the Electric Lady album. This is Carol's first album that she released. And so you're with a major disco label in the height of the disco craze, sort of the beginning of it, actually.
Yes.
You know, was it what you expected, the business end of it, and being with a big record company?
Yes, it was. It was great. I think because I had been in the music business as far as making records with the Geminis and also doing the circuit with the club circuit, I was kind of seasoned enough to be able to really, you know, put my whole self into it very, very well. And I had also a 9-piece band, and we could actually duplicate the sound of the album when we actually played, you know,
live bands as opposed to the track dates of today and everything.
Yes, we had 9 pieces.
So you had several big hits from there. Love Is You, a version of More from the classic Mondo Khan movie.
Yes.
So what made you decide to leave Salsoul after only 1 album, because all that success? And
on that first album with Electric Lady, I fought to write, to do some writing. And at that time, a lot of girls were not writing.
That's true.
And I got about 3 or 4 songs on that album.
And you had co-publishing too,
And
right?
I had co-publishing. I had my publishing company. So I really wanted to move on to write more of my material for myself. And I had a chance to do that with the second album.
Which was Reflections of Carol Williams. We've got that here too, folks. This is Carol's second album. And this was on Roy B. Records, an independent label out of New York, right?
Yes.
So, interestingly, again, though, you did pursue the disco.
Yes, I love the disco sound because I like the fact that violins were used, the classical violins were used in disco, the horn sections. I mean, it was
whole
just
orchestration.
The whole orchestration. It was just beautiful to me, and I wrote still in that type of style, but I also got a couple of slow songs on there, a couple of ballads too.
He's My Man was one of those
I got that on there, and I was also able to utilize my band that was appearing with me throughout the whole time, and I felt that they were well enough musicians to be able to actually do the track and go in the studio and record that album with me, and I fought for that. But
I'm sure
you
that
got
wasn't
it.
easy.
No, at that time, people were used to using studio musicians that they were used to, you know. But I just felt like, you know, they were great musicians, and I wanted them to be on the actual album.
And we have here another relic. This is folks' special colored vinyl. This was from that album that she's talking about, Take Your Time. That was one of the big hits you had
Right,
back then. This is
right.
actually from Germany. So
It's so funny. I never knew about that color of the record. I was
really?
on Fire Island, and I was appearing at one of the clubs on Fire Island, and one of the DJs just said, "Oh, would you sign this record?" And I said, "Where did you get that record from?"
You never know
I
when
don't have
someone's
a
gonna pop
record
up,
like that.
right?
Yes, definitely.
So after that album, I know that you started to pursue some singles deals. Around the early 80s, it was sort of the trend to sign singles deals with labels as
Right.
opposed to doing full albums.
Right.
And you had really the big one in the middle of that. You were with Vanguard Records.
Yes.
And you had a song, Can't Get Away From Your Love.
Yes.
So I know that spearheaded some good gigs for you. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Can't Get Away From Your Love was more, it was disco, but it was more R&B, I'd say at the time. And that record got me into the garage. That record got
Paradise
me
Garage,
Paradise
legend
Garage.
club in New York,
That
yeah.
record got me into a lot of the clubs in Newark and a lot of the clubs in Florida. So I worked a lot with that record.
Speaking of which, you're a New Jersey native, right?
Yes, I'm from New Jersey, Montclair, New Jersey. Yes.
And
This is where the Sopranos are from.
oh yeah, there you go. That's the hookup, right? So one of the things I wanted to ask you about doing these singles deals, was it any different? Did you feel a different sense of security as far as your recording career? Was it for better or for worse, would you say?
Well, I think the singles, the one thing about the singles are you're just doing one record.
Right.
So you're not working on it for like, with the Electric Lady, I worked on that a year because I was working 6 nights a week, and I would go into Philly in the day and I would record it. So it took a year to do
Wow.
that album.
big-
The single, you could do it much faster. It would come out much faster. It wasn't like you were looking for tunes, 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 tunes. You were just one tune and you would do it and you could get it out faster.
And-
So I liked that at the time, yes.
And you got to do some ballads as well, like one of the
Yes.
songs you're going to sing for us in a little
Yes.
bit, One More Time.
Yes.
And you were also part of a group around this time.
Lady Ritz.
Lady Ritz,
Yes.
yeah. What was that all about?
That was 3 girls that were put together. How we got together, well, we went into a studio to do a studio session for U.S. Gary Bond.
Oh yeah, Gary U.S.
Yes.
Bonds, yeah.
Yes, that's who it was. And as a result of that, the producer that was producing the record for him wanted to keep us on with touring with him, but we didn't want to do it. And as a result, he just put everything together around us and made us Lady Ritz. That's how we became Lady Ritz.
So you
And
got
that-
to explore a different
Yes.
style of music. a
Oh
different
yeah, we did a
genre.
lot of different songs. We sang in different languages on that. It was actually an
Wow.
album, yeah.
And it was like a medley of different...
It was a medley of different songs, and
What would you say was your favorite place to perform from all those gigs you did, whether it was when you were doing the disco thing or doing Lady Ritz? I mean, was there a place that stood out for you or a particular type of venue that you like to play?
I think the best places that I really enjoyed working was in Canada,
In Canada.
in Toronto and Montreal.
What was it about it that you...
Their backdrops would be like your name would be on in lights
Oh, yeah.
in the back of the stage, and they just did really big productions when you came in.
So they just made you feel at home?
It really made you feel at home, and it was just more, it almost felt like it was maybe, well, I've never worked Vegas, but almost like working, maybe this would be how Vegas would have been, that type of situation.